For this hour. Joining us, attorney and former prosecutor Randolph Rice and trial attorney Alexis Rosenberg. Thank you both for joining me tonight on the program. Randolph, I'll start with you first. You know, I love a good metaphor in an opening statement. She called the car, in this case, the missile car. I think that's effective. This is one of those cases as a prosecutor where the videos basically provide, I think, pretty much all the evidence you need in the case. So it's one of those cases where you really have to play not to lose. Is that something that's a problem for prosecutors? How do you approach that type of situation?
Well, you're right. These are often cases where it's a layup, right? And you just don't want to miss that layup. But in this case, they have to lay out all those different factors to satisfy the crime. They also need to get into the mindset, or at least the intent of what she was doing or why she was doing it to prove these charges. So, you know, you're right. We love a good metaphor. This is probably a layup for them, but they got to make sure they cover all their bases. Don't miss anything. Follow that outline so that you hit every point.
Yeah, fair enough. And Alexis, speaking of the mindset of the defendant, I'm going to ask you, what does the defendant do? I can't figure out what's going on here. Is she just an adrenaline junkie? Is she a career criminal? What was she thinking? Does she double down in the defense and say that there was, in fact, somebody in the car and that's what actually happened? I can't imagine they want to go in that direction. Where does the defense go, Alexis?
Michael, I agree with you. There's a big question. What was she thinking here? Was she on something? I mean, it just doesn't really make sense. And then to come to find out that she's done this before, I'm not understanding. If you're going to steal a car, why are you screaming out the window to get more attention? So, and this is a first-degree murder trial. So we do need to know what, they're going to have testimony about this intent.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised by this testimony. I didn't expect to hear that someone was seen in the car, someone who had something that looked like a pipe. Maybe there's more to this. I think this other person could be a bit of a problem for the state.
I was surprised too, but as a prosecutor, it's better to just lay that out in the very beginning so that it can be absorbed and maybe explained away. However, it is surprising because now we've substantiated her story that there's someone in the car, looked like he had a weapon. She was agitated and upset and demanding that he call the police.
Yeah, and what's interesting, Randolph, is they talked about it in their opening statement, saying that they're going to prove to this jury that there was no one in the car, at least when all of the carnage happened. But certainly there's someone here. How big of a problem is this for the state?
Yeah, I think the state did a good job in opening and laying out that there was somebody in the car originally, but they have enough evidence to show that that person exited the vehicle before the defendant started taking off on this mad dash across I-25. I also found it interesting, Alexis probably can speak to this as well, is that, when you have a witness and you prep them and you ask them what time it happened and they all of a sudden give you the wrong time, it's so frustrating. And sometimes you sort of clinch up and think, oh no, is this witness, my witness, going down the wrong path here on things that we've probably talked about?
Yeah, she looked a little surprised by that, but she recovered, I thought, fairly well. Alexis, I want to get back to that intent issue. One of the ways that the state has to prove, or is going to prove intent to get that first-degree murder, including the premeditation, is this idea that she did all this, that even this part, telling this guy that she was under duress, somebody was trying to kidnap her and then goes driving, is that she planned it all, that she wanted to be chased. And when she did, she went down the wrong way of a road, just like she had done in the past, came up with the same story that she used in the past, and all this supports the idea that it was premeditated and she has intent. What do you make of it?
I agree. That's where they're going. I think it's going to be a hard sell to the jury. But like you said before, they've got a bunch of other counts. And, that felony murder, that's pretty easy as long as they can prove that the car was stolen and she actually stole it.
Yeah, and the fact that she was running away from police makes it a felony. And so they certainly got her on those others. But they're looking for that top charge. You know what, Randolph? The defense decided not to give an opening statement. I'm always a bit skeptical of that. I like to give signposts for the jury to follow. What do you make of them not doing that in this case?
Yeah, I've never done that before, and I just don't think it's a good move because remember, you're making a first impression on a jury. The state got to make their first impression. The defense didn't get to make that first impression. And so now the jury's sitting there thinking, wow, we've heard one side of the story. What's the other side of the story? Because we didn't hear it. And now it's just locked in their minds for however long this trial is going to go on for without any type of counter argument. So I don't like that move from the defense. We'll have to see how that plays out throughout this trial, though.
Yeah, I agree. I like to give them a little bit of a framework from which to look at the defense, look at the evidence from the defense's point of view. All right, Randolph Rice, Alexis Rosenberg, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Always a pleasure to have you on the show.